Which upset surprised us the most? Can Texas Tech win out and reach a bowl game? And is James Harden the best player in the NBA? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Abby Aldrich. It was a wild Saturday in college football as 5 of the top 10 teams faltered. Despite all the upsets, it didn't do much to shake up the rankings, as Ohio State was the only newcomer to the top 4, as Washington fell to number 6. Kyle, which upset surprised you the most, and what impact do they have on the rest of the season?
I'd probably have to go with Michigan. I think Michigan losing on the road at Iowa 14-13, that one kind of shocked me the most. It's just I thought Michigan was a very dominant team. They looked dominant all season long.
Absolutely.
And Iowa, they were a team that probably wasn't living up to their expectations coming into the season. I think a lot of people thought Iowa would be better. They had that early season loss to North Dakota State, so I think that kind of knocked them down. But that was really surprising. It was, I don't know, if you look at the numbers, it was brutal if you like offense because, 103 yards for Wilton Speight through the air. That was it. C.J. Beathard, the quarterback for Iowa, 66 yards through the air. So it wasn't much offense. It was good defense, 2 good defenses. And Iowa, coming off a bad loss the week before against Penn State, they had to bounce back. And it's a good win for Iowa, but that's tough. It's a heartbreaking loss for Michigan.
I agree. I actually think Alabama is sitting back watching all this right now and smiling.
Oh, yeah.
They've looked like the best team since the very beginning, and they just continue to get stronger, especially after that 51-3 beatdown on Mississippi State this past weekend. Now, this was the first time that the number 2, 3, and 4 teams have lost on the same weekend since 1985.
Yeah,
and that even happened in October, and this is mid-November. You did not expect all these upsets to happen that
remember,
did.
Michigan and Iowa played in that 1985. Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback when they lost that game. So
I got to say, though, the Clemson and Pittsburgh game was one of the biggest upsets that I thought. I thought that Clemson was going to go into these past 3 games, and they were just going to cruise on by. I thought that they had it. And you just saw Nathan Peterman lit up Clemson's defense with 5 touchdowns and 308 yards, which was a career best for him. If you're going to have one of the best games of your career, that was the game to have it. He's going to be thinking about that for a while.
Yeah, and I understand. I didn't think I expected Pitt to beat them, but I did expect Clemson to falter at some point. I haven't really been high on them all year. I know they had a really easy schedule, especially down the stretch. I haven't really been a big fan of what they've been doing. Deshaun Watson just has not had that great of a season, in my opinion. I know he did set a ACC record last week for 580 passing yards. I just don't feel like he's been as sharp. That team has been as sharp, the defense. But, like we talked about, like you talked about with Alabama, this is what we know about college football. Alabama is great. Everybody else, you can just throw them away. Because, everybody else, you don't know week in, week out. One team can look good, and then the next week they falter. So it's a toss-up.
I do think, though, that if Michigan, Clemson, and Washington can win out, they still do make a playoff run, I believe.
They will. It's just because everybody else is lost, and that's going to happen. But it'll be interesting to see how the next few weeks go.
I agree.
Texas Tech football has now dropped 5 of their last 6 games with a heartbreaking 45-44 loss on the road against Oklahoma State Saturday afternoon. Tech scored what seemed to be the game-tying touchdown with 1:44 left in the game on a 1-yard Quentin Wright run, but missed the ensuing point-after attempt. With the loss, the Red Raiders dropped to 4-6 on the season and has to win out to become bowl eligible. Abby, do you see Tech winning out and becoming bowl eligible?
I'm obviously a little biased. You've got to have a little hope. The season is not over yet. There's still 2 games, and honestly, anything can happen. I do think that we're going to beat Ohio State on Saturday, and even though our defense is still struggling a lot, but our offense, we're still 2nd in the nation in total offense and 1st in passing and 3rd in scoring. I think our offense is going to be too much for Iowa State to handle. I think it's going to come down to Baylor. It's going to be a tiebreaker there. But Baylor has lost 3 games so far in a row, and they just look like they've run out of gas. They're ready for the offseason.
It looks like the summer caught up to them finally.
Exactly.
Is what it looks like.
And then you have their quarterback Seth Russell. He got injured in the last game against Oklahoma, and I don't know if you saw that play actually happen, but that did not look good.
Yeah, he's out for the season, dislocated ankle, and now they're turning to a true freshman because Jared Stidham transferred in the offseason. So now they're to a guy who really has no experience. And I've said it before, and I'm going to stick with it. I think Tech's going to finish 4-8, and it pains me to say that. I don't think they're going bowling. Iowa State is tougher than we all think. I know their record is flat out awful at 2-8, but they did finally get their first Big 12 win last week against Kansas. I know it's Kansas, but they have played well this season. They barely, 34-24 loss to Oklahoma. That was at home last Thursday. or 2 Thursdays ago, I believe. And then Kansas State, 31-26. They almost won at Oklahoma State, and they almost beat Baylor as well. So I think Iowa State is tougher than we think. I said it too. The defense is improving for Tech. They are, but the offense is regressing, in my opinion. I know they had a better game against Oklahoma State. I just feel like continually, as the seasons went on, we've gotten worse offensively. I know we're still putting up numbers, but when it comes to crunch time, we haven't been able to close games out. I know this time we did. Unfortunately, just missed the point after attempt. But, as for Baylor, we could win that game. I mean, we could win out. I mean, there's no reason we couldn't. But with Baylor, don't be surprised if you see Baylor start running a Wildcat either. They did that last year when they lost all their quarterbacks going to the bowl game against North Carolina. They destroyed North Carolina on the ground. So don't be surprised about that. But I'm going to stick with 4-8. I don't think Texas Tech has enough left in this season, and I think they're just kind of on the next.
Our defense is going to have to come out and play against Baylor. And it is in Arlington. They're going to have a big showing with fans. So.
And I think being on the road is going to hurt them.
I hope that
we really struggle on the road. So I think it'd be good if they do, but I'm going to stick with 4-8 right now.
Absolutely. Last week, James Harden boldly stated that he is the best player in the NBA when responding to questions on who he thought was the best point guard and player in the league. After moving to point guard this season, Harden has flourished in his new role under head coach Mike D'Antoni, putting up some historic numbers. Kyle, is James Harden the best player in the NBA?
I'm going to start with saying he's not the best player in the NBA, but I do think he's a top 5 player in the NBA. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but I seriously do. I mean, this guy, look at the numbers he's putting up this season. I know it's only through 10 games, but he's averaging 30.3 points per game, 12.6 assists per game, and 7.9 rebounds. So you're talking about he's up there with Russell Westbrook, and what Russell Westbrook has done with the Thunder. He's had to carry this team. His player efficiency rating is 32.20, which is extremely high. Steph Curry's last year was only, I believe, 31, around 31. So that you're talking about an MVP caliber. I know it's 10 games in the year, but this guy has improved each year. His scoring's kind of fluttered back and forth, kind of between 27 and 29, but up right now around 30 points. But his assists have gone up every year as he's been a Rocket. His rebounds has gone up. I think moving him to point guard was the best thing. I know his turnovers are still high at 5.7 turnovers per game, but you got to. I mean, Russell Westbrook does the same thing with Oklahoma State. He turns it over, but I would put James Harden in the top 5 right, maybe number 5.
I mean, would you expect James Harden to say anything else, honestly? I mean, personally, I think he's not cocky, I'd say, but he just has a big head.
Yeah.
But he plays with that kind of confidence that he is the best player in the league. And personally, I think you have to play with that kind of confidence.
You do.
Playing soccer my entire life, I always wanted to believe that I was the fastest and I was the best out there.
Well, if you don't, then why are you out there?
Exactly. And that made me feel like I had something to prove and I had something to go out there and show everybody. So I think it's not a bad thing. He just has to learn how to control that a little bit. But that's just a completely different story.
You don't like players just going out and making bold statements like that?
Not personally. But I still don't think that he is better than LeBron James. And I mean, LeBron's got that ring to prove it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, the Sports Illustrated had their preseason rankings. LeBron was number 1, which I totally agree. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, CP3, and Russell Westbrook round the top 5. I do like CP3, but I would not have him as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. He's one of the best. He's definitely, probably, if you look at best point guard in the NBA, but overall player, I would probably take him out of that. And I see Kawhi Leonard also ahead of James Harden.
Absolutely. Kawhi
Leonard hasn't done enough by himself for me. James Harden has had to really carry the Rockets since he's come there. And, like now you see Russell Westbrook, he really is becoming a top 5 player because he's having to carry the Thunder. I know people disagree. I think James Harden, if he played any semblance of a defense, I mean, he would be really good.
I think in order to make his presence known, he can't be one-sided with the ball.
Yeah.
He has to be able to play that defense. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen all those defensive memes about him out there.
I've watched them in person. I've watched them live.
Hilarious.
Yeah, he's got to work on that. But I think he's getting better as his career goes on. He's getting more serious.
I agree.
About it.
If he keeps up playing how he is right now, he's going to be showing up some historic numbers this season.
He will. Well, now it's time for our weekly segment called Who You Got, Abby? You're new to this one. It's going to be your first week picking games. You excited?
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know how. I mean, you guys seem to be doing pretty good with it and tend to call them most weeks. So.
Yeah, I mean, my number is actually pretty good, but I'm still trailing Billy. So, hopefully I'll start catching up pretty soon by the end.
Maybe I'll keep him in the lead for now.
All right, well, let's get started. Houston plays host to Louisville tomorrow night. Abby, who you got?
I'm going to go with Louisville. I think after they are averaging 583 yards a game, while Houston is only putting up about 452. Now, I don't think it's going to be a blowout of any sorts. I think that special teams for both teams are going to that could be a deal breaker. I think that they both have the capability of getting a big return on a kickoff run. But I think Louisville is going to pull away in the second half, even playing in Houston, and I think it's going to be their game from on.
I'm going to go with the upset. I think Houston gets it done at home, and I'm going to tell you what. I mean, the team when they play ranked opponents, they seem to show up. I mean, they played number 3 Oklahoma at the beginning of the year in Houston. They won that game. I know Oklahoma started out rough, but then you go back to even last season, the bowl game against Florida State. They found a way to pull that one out. I think that Tom Herman, this is a game for him, kind of to state to his suitors that he's still got it as a coach, because they did have those 2 losses. They have struggled since then. I go with Houston. I think they'll pull out the upset.
Okay, I guess we'll see about that. West Virginia hosts Oklahoma. Kyle, who you got?
I'm going to go with Mountaineers. I like what Dana Holgorsen has done with that team this year. Their offense, the offense is getting the job done, but their defense is the difference. I think they'll find a way to slow down Mayfield and Westbrook just enough to pull out that win. And I think this is a statement for West Virginia to make their playoff case.
You know, I'm going to have to go opposite with you. I think Oklahoma is going to get this one. You got a Big 12 championship on the line, and I think that Baker Mayfield is going to give West Virginia defense problems. I don't think any question about that. I don't think that they're going to be able to stop him and even the rest of the OU offense.
Yeah, I mean, the OU's been rolling just like they did at the end of last season, but I feel confident going with Dana Holgorsen this week. Pac-12 leaders collide in Boulder as Colorado hosts Washington State. Abby, who you got?
I think that this game is going to be decided on whichever quarterback can step up whenever the game is on the line.
Yeah.
And coming in on an 8-game winning streak, Mike Leach is obviously doing something right with the Cougars. Something's going on that's great over there. They have a dangerous return game, and Luke Falk has more than enough weapons to be able to get the job done. I think that if they can convert on crucial third downs, and then if the Cougars can convert in the red zone, I think it's Washington State's game.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm going with Washington State as well. I like the way they're rolling. Like you said, 8 straight wins. The first time since 1930 that they've done that there. I know they did lose their second leading receiver, Raber Craycraft. He's out for the year towards ACL. But this is an interesting game. It's the best pass defense versus the best pass offense. Well, one of the best. I know Cal's above them right now in the Pac-12. But you're talking about that. And Colorado, they've done good all year. But I'm going to go with the Cougars. I think they roll.
It'll be a good game for sure.
It should.
In the NFL, Houston takes on Oakland and Mexico City. Kyle, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders. And because Houston is awful on the road. I'm just going to say it like it is. They are awful on the road. They finally got their first road win in Jacksonville, but that's not really much of a road win. So I'm going to go with Derek Carr. I think that they're just rolling right now, and they got to keep pace. Kansas City is right on their tails in the division, so they got to keep pace and keep winning.
I agree. Raiders have been impressive this season. I'm going to go with the Raiders as well. I'm sticking with it, and I don't think that their record is going to shatter on Monday.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing, though, that I think is going to be the biggest challenge is the elevation in this game. They both are traveling to Mexico City, and fatigue is going to be a problem. Just take a look at these statistics. Well, Mexico City has an elevation of about 7,500 feet. Denver, at the closest range with that, Denver is only 5,280 feet. So whenever you see these players with oxygen masks on the sideline, you're going to know why.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough road trip. You see the teams that go to London, so we'll see if it has any effect on them. Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big-name stories in sports. I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Abby Aldrich. Till next time.